Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Knowledge at Noon. We're going to go ahead and wait just another moment or two, allow some more viewers to join in the meeting. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our first virtual live event that we are hosting. We are so excited. We are asking that as viewers are logging on to please make sure that your microphone and your video are muted. That way we can preserve bandwidth and make sure that everyone has a pleasant streaming experience. For those of you who are viewing on a computer, we absolutely recommend choosing the speaker view under the meeting tab, and that will allow you to see whoever is speaking at that time. And if you have any questions, we will do a moderated Q&A session at the end of today's talk. So please submit questions to me using the chat feature. I am Jenna Harris. I am the Education Manager for YOLO Arts. And I'm so excited you're here. So let's see, let's check our time here. We're at about 12:01. Looks like we've got most of our participants entered in, and I will keep admitting people to the group as they log on. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started. So Knowledge at Noon is a free monthly speaker series featuring artists, historians, and agricultural professionals that explore themes central to YOLO Art and YOLO County Historical Collection exhibitions at the Gibson House and property. Today's talk will be given by artist Judith Selby Lang, but before we get started, I want to share a few things that YOLO Arts is doing to keep the arts alive in YOLO County at this time. So with that, I will go ahead, admitting a few more people. Let me take you over to our website here. So right here, you can see the YOLO Arts homepage. And over here on this tab, we have a new virtual arts section. So on this virtual YOLO Arts, you can see our online galleries, which features our show Up in the House right now, Fashion Forwards, Women's Wear, and Social Reform. It also does feature an online viewing of this show, the Women's Eco Artist Dialogue, The Legacy of Joe Hansen show. Another new tab we have here is our home studio and collection tours, where you can check in with our teaching artists and see how they're staying creative during this time. We also have a video from our executive director, Allison Flory, who shares how she's living with art during this time. Another section is our interviews with creatives that gives an in-depth look at our YOLO Arts programs and our program partners. And our latest resource is our online arts learning tab. But with that, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and introduce our curator and creative director, Janice Purnell, who's also the co-curator of the show. Janice?
Jenna, thank you so much. Yeah, I just want to say a few words about our current exhibit, Women Eco Artist Dialogue, The Legacy of Joe Hansen, is an exhibition at the Barn Gallery that features 33 works of environmental or eco art created by 16 amazing artists from Northern California and across the country. Each piece represents an issue of great personal significance to these artists, from the impact of climate change, the stewardship of the land, and the preservation of biodiversity, among others. I just would like to take this opportunity to thank all of the artists in this exhibit, everyone at WEED for making this show possible, and a special shout out to Nanette Wild, who is a WEED board member and who worked with me over a 3-month period to curate this exhibit from the WEED Artists membership. And among the many accomplished artists in the show, we are so thrilled to have Judith Selby Lang's work included. In fact, her installation, Clean Sweep, made from old broomsticks and colorful plastic ropes, really epitomizes the spirit of Joe Hansen, the woman whose legacy we celebrate and who Judith will be talking about today. But before we hear from Judith, I'm so excited to be able to play for you a short video of this exhibit filmed by Tomas Montoya. We hope that we can open our barn doors soon so you can see all of the work up close. But in the meantime, please enjoy this video, and thank you all for being here today. Okay, Jenna, take it away.
Okay. Just a moment. Excellent. Okay, thank you, Janice. Of course, Knowledge at Noon isn't complete without a Q&A session with our speaker. We're going to test out a moderated Q&A at the end of our presentation today. So to submit a question, please use the chat icon on the bottom of your screen, or if you're logging on a phone, please click More and then the Chat button. During the presentation, I will monitor the chat and compile a list of our questions to discuss with Judith later. Judith Selby Lang is committed to the creation of positive symbols and life-affirming images to energize the conversation about social, political, and environmental issues. In an ongoing project, One Beach Plastic, she collaborates with her husband, Richard Lang, to collect and repurpose beach plastic, transforming the perils of plastic pollution into beautiful and thoughtful works of art. By giving aesthetic form to what is considered to be garbage, Judith serves as both cleaner and curator. While the content of her work has a message about the spoiling of the natural world by the human and industrial world, her intent is to communicate and celebrate. Her ephemeral public artworks have graced the San Francisco Civic Center Plaza, the Palo Alto Baylands Nature Preserve, and Stanley Harbor in Hong Kong, just to name a few. As a dynamic speaker about the creative life, she has presented at the Pitzer Institute for Entrepreneurship in Claremont, California, applied Brilliance in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, the Newseum in Washington, D.C., and now we are so thrilled to welcome her here today at YOLO Arts to talk with us. Judith, how are you doing today?
Yay! So glad to be here. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Without any further ado, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you to get us started.
Much gratitude to YOLO Arts, to Janice Purnell and Net Wild, co-curators of this exhibition, and the years, absolutely years of support and encouragement from WEED as a wonderful arts organization. So I'm going to now share my screen, and you'll see it messy. And I'm going to bring up a slideshow here. And okay, does that work for everybody? All right, thank you. December 24th, 1968. Bill Anders on the Palo 8 snapped a pic. Little did he know that it would become one of the most powerful environmental images of all time. This blue marble saw us as we truly are. We are all in this together and feel it even more these days than when this iconic image was first presented. Just a few months later, January 28th, 1969, the Santa Barbara oil spill brought this incredible and many other photographs of oil-drenched birds into our lives. It was the synergy of these two photographs, that blue earthrise and the birds soaked in oil, that brought forth an extraordinary time. It was the golden age of environmentalism. It's hard to imagine now, but the EPA was established, Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act. It was just an upwelling of support for environmental issues. And it was really these two images, in my mind, as an artist and an image maker, that catalyzed so much of this legislation. But it's this image of Joe Hansen from 1980 that brings us here today. Sweeping the sidewalk in front of her house on Buchanan Street in San Francisco. As a dance, as environmentalist, as performance artist, she really was it all. And she was the inspiration, absolutely, for my installation that's now at YOLO Arts. This idea of this clean sweep. This piece is a group of brooms and a pile of polypropylene rope and derelict fishing gear, all collected from Kehoe Beach in the Point Reyes National Seashore. Thanks to Weed, we have a wonderful exhibition. You cannot imagine the disappointment. We set up the show on one day, 2 days later, the show kind of closed. We didn't have the reception, but it's our hope that it will revitalize. We will be able to come together in August and really celebrate what we've all been through. Weed was the vision of Joe Hansen. The idea being to have a compendium, have a resource file, to have a way that artists could connect with exhibitors and to create this a catalog. So with Susan Leibovitz Steinman, they created this handmade, photocopied, cut and pasted catalog. And they did that for years, tirelessly working away. Each artist had an opportunity to have an entry, and page after page of these entries. Eventually, they were able to go online, and now each artist has a beautiful page, a click-through of slides available. And if you haven't been there yet, I advise you all to take a look at their directory of artists. Over almost 500 artists are now participating in that program. But it was in 1999 that my life changed, all for the better. It was on a first date that Richard Lang took me to Kehoe Beach. It was our first date. And it was an amazing thing to discover that we each had a passion for picking up plastic and making artwork out of it. Who could ever imagine that you'd find a kindred spirit like that? But he was, and this plastic was washing up onto Kehoe Beach. And he bent over and picked up a piece of plastic, and I said, are you gonna pick up that? You're gonna keep that? And then I bent over and picked up a piece of plastic, and he said, are you gonna keep that? And we discovered that we each, as artists, thought this was a most remarkable material, and we both were going to keep that and keep each other. It's fun. There's fresh air, beautiful waves and sea and sand, and what's not to like about going to the beach. The real clincher, though, was the February after that November, when curating carefully the red, Richard presented me with a heart. What's not to love? Back in those days, the information was just starting to come in. Charles Moore, a couple years prior, about 1997, took his boat through what's now, that we now know as the North Pacific Gyre, and he discovered this incredible accumulation of plastic. And some people said, oh, it's the size of Texas. You've probably all heard now that keeps getting bigger and bigger depending on who you talk to. At any rate, there's a lot of it. But there are these people that are climate deniers. They say, well, if you can't see it on Google Maps, maybe it doesn't even exist. Now, it's another problem about that. But when you go to the beach and it looks like this, you go, there must be something happening out there that washed up this incredible, we call it a confetti strew of plastic that washed up one day. So as you can see, there's so much there that we can't even clean the beach. We say we're curating the beach. We bring it home. It's not really dirty, it's sandy. We bring it home and wash it. And here, look at Richard just surveying this incredible haul from the day. Sorting through the plastic is one of the great pleasures. As artists, we love to categorize and think about what goes with what, color being the first enticement. So that's the first culling through. But eventually, we start to get like kinds, like the so-called disposable lighter. Or how about combs? It's thrilling. You know, you look at that beach covered with plastic and you could fall into a pit of despair. But then you pull out, you find, oh my goodness, you find a toy soldier, or you find a little Mickey Mouse or a Barbie doll comb, and it's just a feeling of thrill. So it's this amazingly conflicted feeling of, oh, it's so difficult and horrible, and yet we want what we do to be beautiful, to be an enticement, so that people can have the enjoyment of looking at these images, be curious about them, and then perhaps ask themselves the question, maybe that was once mine. This is one of the most common things that we find on the beach. It's a tipperillo tip from a cigar. And to me, I love this image because it represents like creating a document in a natural science museum, where a drawer where you pull it out and all the specimens are the same, and yet they're different, and each one tells a story. Some of the ends of these tipperillo tips are a little bit worried, like, ooh, who the guy was walking the plank, what was happening to him, the dynamic there. And then what about these? These these are, do we really need these? These are these lemon squeeze, the little lemon juice things. And then to find all of these pull tabs from juice containers, and to be able to create this incredibly enticing image that is at once mysterious and beautiful. We love the color of the plastic. Since the beach has been closed during this COVID sheltering in place time, we've had plenty of time to sort and reorganize and tidy up. So we are ready at the go. Each box full of the yellow, the rust brown, the turquoise, and we've been using our sheltering time wisely. Weed has offered so many remarkable opportunities to show and share our work. This is the Letterman Army Hospital at the Presidio. And Weed was able to, let's see, I'm losing track of what year it was. It was in 2005. The exhibit was called Ecovision's Bay Area Artists Exploring Global Ecological Issues. To have the opportunity to do something with the other artists in Weed, to have this container for expressing something. Our project is really, the Kehoe Beach project is 2 people, 1 beach. But for this particular situation, we went outside the boundary of our constriction, and we decided that we would walk Crissy Field Beach, that's about a half a mile from the Presidio. And this is what 2 people in a 90-minute lunch, we called this piece lunch, February 26, 2005, we walked Crissy Field Beach, where people said, oh, you're not gonna find any plastic on Crissy Field Beach. Now, it doesn't exist. But this is what we found and brought in during that 90 minutes. And it was a marvelous way because we were able to suspend this from the ceiling, and people could actually walk the walk that we walked. And the marvelous things to find a doll leg. Oh, that's very exciting. Find a doll leg, for example. Softball. It just was truly a marvelous adventure to go and pick up in that way. Another remarkable opportunity was at the Thatcher Gallery at University of San Francisco, the Gleason Library. You can see a shallow pool that skirts the edge of that sidewalk there. And we were given the opportunity to do something with that pool. And so people are always talking about the plastic floating in the ocean. So we decided to wire together hundreds of pieces of plastic and float it on that pond. And it was wonderful because students could sit on the edge and muse about what the particular items were. And it's quite a moving testimony to this plastic. Inside the so there was an exterior part of the exhibition. And then inside, I created a piece I call 94933, which is my zip code, because I'm super distressed about all the junk mail that comes our way. This is just a small stack of the piles that appear there almost every day. So I took the political brochures, the glossy catalogs for consumer goods, for all the sales brochures, and I cut them into concentric circles as if they were tree rings. And I made these like cutaways, as if these tree stumps had been cut away, revealing all of this junk mail. There are some 62 million trees that are cut down every year to just take care of the junk mail. It's here's the installation that was inside the Gleason Library. The the green was to represent all the leaves that had fallen in the forest, and then I had small slips of paper where people could take one and take action, where you could disengage from junk mail mailers by sending in your address. During my time in San Francisco, working in San Francisco, my walk commute to Electric Works, where Richard had a gallery and print business, I would walk by this newly built in 2000, what year was that? 2008, I'm sorry, 2008, the new federal building at 7th and Mission. And it was an environmental LEED-friendly building, and it had a large plaza in front, but it was never really, I just kept walking by it. Somebody needs to activate that space. It was kind of plain and spare. And so I thought, you know, we need to dance here. So I started studying dance charts, and I thought, well, how about that, and maybe put that idea together with the idea of our footprints, our environmental, our carbon footprints. So thanks to the Mathis Wackernagel from the Global Footprint Network, he helped me calculate the measurements for the footprints, and was 10 inches for Afghanistan and 10 feet for the United States. And I cut out foam, recycled carpet underlayment foam, and created these large footprints, which in fact did dance across that plaza in a beautiful way. And I was so happy when a school group came and really enlivened the scene. Once again, Weed gave an incredible opportunity when in 2010, there was the Weed 15th anniversary exhibition at John F. Kennedy University. And I was able to display my footprints in the corridor going into the gallery and into the gallery itself. And what do you do when you're driving along thinking you're going someplace and you look behind a slatted fence and you see an enormous pile of garbage can lids? I came to a screeching halt and I went, oh, what is that? And I was on my way to the Marin Museum of Contemporary Art to make a proposal there. But I came to a halt when I saw these garbage can lids behind that fence. And I went on to my destination, but I couldn't get them out of my mind. So I started making some phone calls to the city of Novato. This was up at Hamilton Air Force Base up in Novato. And I finally made my way to a Navy person who said, yes, I could have the lids, but if I took one, I had to take them all. So I did. I took them all. And I laid them on the grounds at the Marin Museum of Contemporary Art on their lawn. Now this museum was once part of the military facility there. So it was apropos to lay these out as if they were crosses in a military cemetery. And the piece was called Earth Epitaph, to imagine what might happen to our planet. Once again, we'd offered an incredible opportunity when in 2012, there was an exhibit at the Marin Community Foundation called Beyond Landscape. And it was a chance for me to display these in the conference room, these garbage can lids. They beg the question, where is a way? I am deeply grateful to Jamil for his use of he photographed Jo's notebooks. She was rigorous in her sweeping, and she was also rigorous in the keeping of her notebooks. Imagine her thrill in finding these wonderful little slips of paper that she carefully placed into these notebooks. They are a real slice of time into the San Francisco scene. Once again, thanks to Weed, there was in 2017 a show of works at the Jewett Gallery at the San Francisco Library. Inspired by Jo's notebooks, it brought to mind a notebook, a scrapbook made by my aunt. This little, at the bottom right there, was on fabric, and she made this book in 1917. And she also made this strange, wonderful juxtaposition of images. I was so entranced with these that I decided I would do an image Google search and reverse search. And for example, the West Clock alarm I found in the Saturday Evening Post from 1919. I can't imagine what my aunt was thinking as a young girl putting these things together, but it was a magnificent accomplishment. Jo Hansen, in her groundbreaking show, Crab Orchard Cemetery, first was exhibited in 1974 at the Corcoran Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. The show traveled in 1976 to SF MoMA. It was a historical recreation of a memory that she had. She was born in Carbondale, Illinois, and it was an immersive experience. There were sounds of birds, there were these weathered stones, there was a sense of clouds passing by, and she recreated that cemetery. And here it is. You can see it was a backdrop, and these are actual sculptural pieces that she went back to the cemetery and did rubbings and recreated. And thanks to David Roselle at SF MoMA for the use of this photograph. This is one of Jo's actual sculptures. There are many mansions. It's in the collection at the museum from the Crab Orchard Cemetery of 1974. But as Jo was wont to do, she did everything with great beauty and completion. So when she died on March 13th in 2007, she already knew where her final resting place would be. It was at the Briones graveyard, established in 1853 in Baylands. And here's some tombstones from that graveyard in Baylands. It looks a little like that Crab Orchard Cemetery. She wasn't too far away from her roots. Thanks to the Smithsonian Archive of American Art, who houses Jo's papers, I was able to gain some photographs of her remarkable ceremony of her funeral. It was as Jo was, as eloquent could be. There was no casket. She was just laid out, wrapped in sheets. And as if angel wings, these sheets were lifted and she was lowered into her dirt grave. It was a profound experience to be there on that day. In her death, as she did in her life, she always showed the example of simplicity, of elegance, and inclusion. Richard and I just recently went back to the cemetery there to see what it would feel like to remember Jo in that place. And her little plot of dirt is just to the right and up the hill underneath that big eucalyptus tree. There's no big handsome tombstone there, just as Jo would have it, some dirt and some grass. In her daily walk, the sidewalk of her street every day, she did what we all can do, to take some place right where we are. It can be, we don't have to boil the ocean, we don't have to take on grand programs, but just start right where we are, sweep the sidewalk, but do it every day. Do it right where you are, do it with intention, because any place, every place is a site of attention. Thank you so much. Now, how do I do this? Okay.
Thank you so much, Judith.
Thank you, Judith.
Okay.
All right.
Oh,
So
there
if
we
people
go.
have any questions, please feel free to send them in through the chat function. Right now, I do have a few to get us started. Judith, first, when did you first see the potential of plastics as a medium for your work?
It was in 1996, actually 3 years prior to meeting Richard. That was what was so great about meeting him, because he had actually also started with the plastic 3 years prior. I was working in a convalescent hospital in Tiburon, and every week I would have my lunch at a place called Blackie's Pasture, and I started noticing bits of plastic washing ashore. And so I started gathering those pieces up and thinking, oh, this is, this isn't just trash. This is a wonderful art material. And in fact, if we start to frame it that way, maybe we'll get other people interested in picking it up and making artwork. But then, to my great delight and surprise, to go to Kehoe Beach and to discover that Richard also had been collecting and making artwork 3 years prior. And the amazing thing is that we have just, and just at that time, Charles Moore and his work in discovering the North Pacific gyre, the plastic information was just starting to roll in. And we have been very fortunate to ride an incredible tsunami wave of interest and activism about plastic as an issue.
Excellent. So on that theme of kind of other people wanting to get involved, can you talk about any kind of partnerships with environmental organizations that you've worked on?
Well, we have had just quite a remarkable career. Like I say, we never thought that picking up plastic would take us all over the planet, but fortunately in the days that we could travel, we have. But a little bit closer to home, we have a permanent installation at the Oakland Museum in conjunction with the Cordell Bank. And there we actually have drawers like in science museums with examples that people can pull, because it is a science display. We've had a wonderful association with the Cal Academy, and let's see, in Hong Kong, we've worked with Ocean Recovery Alliance to do projects internationally.
Wonderful, wonderful. Do you teach workshops at all around this?
We have, and we do. We just most recently, well, we're kind of learning how to do this online now, because everybody's got plastic. You don't actually need to go to the beach. You can just look right around your house. We could do one right now Just go to your junk drawer and you probably find plenty. But most recently, we have a wonderful show with other artists over at the Bedford Gallery in Walnut Creek. And for Valentine's Day, we brought out all that red again, red and pink and purple. And people could come on a all afternoon hands-on workshop and make arrangements of the plastic, and then we photographed it, because now we used to have people glue things together and take them away, but now we've realized that that has also an environmental footprint. So we just photograph it, upload them to Instagram or to Facebook, and we show and share in that way.
Excellent. And then I have a couple questions that are a bit similar. So what is the most surprising or unexpected type of plastic or trash that you have found and used over the years? And has that shifted from when you first started collecting to today?
Well, we often are asked that. We have many things that are kind of in our top 10. Most common: water bottles, shotgun shell wads, if you can imagine, if people know what those are. They're the little inserts in that when especially in hunting in the waterways in the Sacramento Delta, the Russian River. These are very buoyant and they float down. So we have common straws, are really common, plastic bags, food containers of all kinds. But the most unusual piece of all time was the lid from a ballot box. And this was in 2001. And it had floated. It was a very contentious election, and there was some talk of anthrax, and they had put the ballot boxes out on a pier near Pier 39, and they got fallen into the water, and this ballot box lid floated out the bay and up onto Kehoe Beach. Now, it's quite an unusual story, so much so that I ended up being on the front page of several newspapers because of it. And because there was further investigation of this incident, the elections officer at that time ended up being in quite a bit of, it was just, that incident was the tip of an iceberg. And there was a change of personnel, shall we say, in that office as a result. So there have been actually really tangible things that have happened as a result of some things that we've found.
Wow, how inspiring that just such simple kind of treasure hunting can create
Definitely,
such
you never know what
institutional
you're going
change.
to find.
Absolutely. So just a couple more to wrap up. How has the pandemic and our current state of affairs, has that influenced your work at all or your creative practice?
Oh, well, completely. Completely. First of all, Point Reyes National Seashore is basically closed. Most services are closed. And especially the road going out to Kehoe Beach is closed. So we have not been to the beach for quite a while. So as I said, we've been spending our time cleaning and sorting and sort of using the materials that we have at hand and getting just super, super organized. And it's a great pleasure to sort through this stuff, to have our hands on the plastic itself. That's one of the wonderful things about doing a workshop, because when people get their hands on it, they gain a very different visceral experience of it, a real connectedness to the material itself. And I want to give a shout out again to plastic. As an incredible, the color is so vibrant, the shapes are so interesting, and since we never know what we find, we like to say when we're going to the beach that we're not cleaning the beach, we're curating the beach. We got to make it more fun.
Absolutely. I myself am looking forward to getting out and curating the beaches near my house as soon as we can. Excellent. And so finally, just to kind of spread some inspiration to our viewers here today, are there any kind of eco artists that you're looking at now, or are there any things that are providing inspiration to your work now that you would like to share with us?
Well, I think because we're all rising to the challenge of this Zoom thing and this FaceTime thing, that that to me is the way that people are really inventing and reinventing themselves because of this new media. I just want to look at you with that wonderful backdrop, and people are finding new and exciting ways to be connected, and I'm very inspired by that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone for the lovely comments that you're sending in and questions on the group chat. We'll go ahead and save those. If you do have any further questions for Judith or for Janice about the show or about the Women's Eco Artist Dialogue, please go ahead and reach out to us at ya@yoloarts.org. And up here on the screen, I do have some other resources to learn more about Judith's project and her artistic practice. Go ahead and check out beachplastic.com. Again, the show is on view through August 22nd. Hopefully, we'll be able to open the doors and have you there in person soon. But if not, please check it out online at our online galleries. And definitely follow us on Facebook or Instagram at YOLO Arts CA. Okay, and for some reason, there we go. Awesome, apologies about that. But thank you so much for logging on today. We have recorded this session and we'll be making it available online tomorrow, and we'll share it out with our mailing list so that if you know anyone who missed today or if you'd like to share this talk with anyone, we will be doing that. Thank you again, Judith. Thank you so much for your time. This was so lovely to have you.
Thank you all. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciation.